For today's review, we are looking at Mr. Bloom and Rookie. Now, who are these two characters for those of you who have never heard of them before? Included data profile cards, as usual, will give us that information. And let's start with Mr. Bloom. As you can see, there's this nice comic book image of what the character looks like, and he's basking in a field of flowers, which is quite fitting to his name. On the back, his real name is unknown, and it reads, likened to a noxious weed spreading his evil seeds across Gotham City, Mr. Bloom was both a supervillain and a power broker. His seeds were deadly man-bat-based implants that granted superpowers to a new wave of criminals such as Precious, Gigi Huang, and Chi Su. Mr. Bloom used those same implants to transform himself into a super strong killer with sharp claws and the ability to stretch his body to an extraordinary lengths. Interesting. The next card, you have Rookie, who looks to be in some sort of action sequence of some kind in this photo. And on the back, his real name is James Gordon. Gordon was invited to head up the Batman task force as the city's new Batman for a time. He got into shape and became the best Batman he could be, piloting a giant mechanical suit. Interesting. So, I'm going to assume that both of these figures originate from the same storyline from that James Gordon Batman figure we got previously. I believe it was a year ago or 2 years ago. I don't remember when that figure came out, but if you know what figure I'm talking about, I'm assuming it's from the same story. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below if you read the story to where these came from. So, yeah. All right. Let's talk about the figures. Is this 2-pack worth paying the retail price for if there is no sale at the moment for it and you still haven't picked it up, but you wanted this 2-pack for some apparent reason? And I would say, no, it's not worth paying retail price for. It's not worth the $70 because it just feels like it doesn't include much in this box. To me, it doesn't. Like, I think in terms of accessories, it is lacking in that department the most. So let's talk about accessories. What do you get in terms of accessories for these figures? Well, the only accessory that you get is this unmasked James Gordon head for the Rookie mech suit. So if you don't want this helmeted head on and you want the helmet head off so it reveals his face, well, you got an alternate head that you can swap and you can make that happen. As for the villain himself, he has no accessories. He doesn't have any interchangeable hands. They didn't even bother to do that. I mean, easily they could have given him that. As you can see on this card right here, he has like open hand gesture going on in this pose. And if you wanted to recreate that pose, you can't even do that because you don't even have those hands available. So in terms of accessory department for both these figures, it is pretty much lacking. They could have given this giant mech suit maybe some effect parts for these missile launchers on the shoulders. I think they should have. It would have made it really cool. If you're setting up some sort of action sequence, right? So now, what else is in this box? Well, I did show the data profile cards, and of course, with these 2 packs, you also get these generic stands, which are always included. I don't ever count those. And recently, for some reason, not all 2 packs include this anymore. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And that is this display stand for the figures to stand on. So I like these. I just find it weird that they stop including them with every 2-pack these days. Don't know why. As you can see, it has really nice detailing on it, and I love that. But there's no paint on this. Like, some of this could have been painted, differently than the color that this is painted with, just being, flat gray like this, right? So if you're a customizer, you can definitely go back and do that. And I guess this last part I would also show here. So they also realize that people like keeping the cardboard backdrop now, so they don't tape the cards to the back anymore. So there you have this. So yeah, really cool. And that is basically the entire box. What is included, and is that worth the retail price of $70? Now, if you can get this for a sale price, I would recommend picking up when it's on sale, not paying full price for this. Okay, let's talk about these figures one on one, and we'll start with, of course, Mr. Bloom. So let's start with the villain himself. And as you can see, he's pretty much just wearing plain old civilian clothes, from what I can tell. It doesn't really, there's no, crazy costume going on here. And again, this is not Mcfarlane's fault. This is pretty much the source material. Again, when you look at this photo, he's not really wearing anything crazy, right? Now, one thing I think they did a really cool job with is, you see his mask, how the flowered thing is like part of it. I like the fact that they actually, instead of printing it on, they sculpted it on. So you can have this three-dimensional effect, which I think is pretty cool. Because if they could have easily just printed that on and called it a day, but they chose not to. They actually chose to just sculpt it on. So this is probably the only good thing about this figure is this head sculpt, because it actually stands out the most. As for the body and everything else, like what he's wearing, it is a source material, so they are working with what they're working with, and it's just what he wears, right? Now, I do have another opinion on this body buck. This body buck could make for a good custom for like a regular civilian person if you want someone to be in the background just wearing regular clothing. And this body buck is really good for that. So if you're not like crazy about this villain and you want to use this for like a custom, you definitely could, right? You just have to repaint the joints here and then change it to a different like skin tone color and just find a head that matches and that can work with this body. Find hands that can also go on these ball joints, and you'll have like a regular civilian body buck in the background for your photos if you do like to shoot photography with action figures. So yeah, in terms of that department, you're pretty much good. That's what this body buck could be used for. As for his hands, yeah, they're pretty they're pretty creepy looking, as you can see. So there's that. And that's pretty much it when it comes to aesthetics for this guy. Not much going on. Because we know where the budget went to in terms of this 2-pack when it comes to which figure got the better, I guess you could say, details and sculpting too. All right, let's talk about articulation. So articulation for this guy, his arm can go out, not too high up for some reason. I don't know if it's because of my copy being stiff because it's new. But that's as far as it can go up. As for going back and forth, it can do that. Double jointed, that works. As for the hands, they do rotate and swivel around. There is articulation at the ball joint there. As for up here, there is the usual swivel. As for his head, it can look up. It can look down, not too much. It can turn his head side to side. He can tilt his head side to side. As for his torso, there is movement. It is kind of tight, but if you heat it up, you can loosen it. Same thing with the waist area down here. As for his legs, they can kick out pretty freaking good, which is surprising because in most cases, they don't really kick out this high up. So that's pretty cool. He does have double jointed, but this part is really stiff and I haven't loosened it yet, so it does work. If your copy is like mine, use hot water, use a hairdryer. There is articulation down here where his boots are. However, because they're using that whole like covering type sort of style, which they've done on a few figures before, you do want to be careful with the way you move this joint. It also limits the movement as well. There is a swivel and there is articulation at the toes. So, as for his legs, can they do the splits? No, they can't. Funny enough, he can kick out pretty good, but he can't spread his legs too much, which that is not a good thing. So, yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like one step forward, one step backwards. Then there's that. And that is basically Mr. Bloom. So, I mean, it's a good looking figure, but just feels like, it could probably look better. But again, it is the source material that they're using, and that's what he looks like. So it's just what the character is designed to be in the comics. So it's not really their fault, in my opinion, on why he came out this way. All right, let's talk about the figure that actually got most of the budget in this 2-pack from what I can tell, because this thing is brand new sculpt. It does not look like a reuse of any kind, and that is, of course, Rookie. This thing is really cool. It's tall, it's bigger, it's taller than some of the mega figs I have. And a good example of this I want to bring in, let me just do this comparison part right now. You have Anti-Monitor, and my camera's not showing it properly, but he is taller than Anti-Monitor. Anti-Monitor is like the top of his head goes up to the collar part, or like somewhere right up there, right? So he's taller than the freaking Anti-Monitor. He's also taller than this, abomination that we looked at a few days ago. So yeah, he's taller than this guy too, the Megazord, the DC Megazord. Yeah, this thing is tall. I haven't compared him to Swamp Thing, and I don't have my Swamp Thing on me right now, so I can't really show that, but he is at least taller than some of the Megafigs that I have. He's also, I think, a little bit taller than Cyborg too, so height-wise, pretty freaking impressive. As for the details on this figure, let's zoom in on that. All of this is new. I don't think any of this is reused, to my knowledge. But yeah, it's pretty cool that most of these pieces are all new. So it's nice to see that the budget did go into a new sculpt. And maybe that's why $70? No, that still doesn't explain it, because there have been previous 2-packs that were priced the same price and they were not using new sculpts of any kind. So I don't know. I don't know the behind the scenes of why they price things at a certain price nowadays. All right, let's talk about the good and the bad. So in terms of the body buck being all new, there are some places that I don't like and I wish they could have done it better. So let's start with the missile launcher things on here. They could have easily given these articulations with like a ball socket sort of peg, so then they can move. I think that would have been better, because if you're trying to do some cool photos with this figure, it would be nice if these things could move, like maybe face a different angle and not always be facing the same way. So I think that was a missed opportunity on their part when it comes to not giving these articulation, because they would have benefited from having some sort of articulation, in my opinion. As for his head sculpt, it looks okay. It's pretty generic looking, because it's literally just a visor that covers, the face inside, right? James Gordon, so hides his identity. It would have been cool if it looked a little bit different. I do like the sculpted emblem here, which is always nice to see. This being printed on is fine because it's GCPD. I do like the blue and the red light here to, they'll symbolize that this is a police mech suit of some kind. And also the belt here is pretty cool. My copy does have a QC problem here with the belt, where they applied it on not too correctly centered. So that's unfortunate, but I can live with it. It's not like the end of the world. And in terms of the paint though, I think this is what people call marbling. Yeah, I've heard that term before, where it seems like maybe it could have been painted a little bit more if they wanted to make it look better. I don't know. I've heard like marbling is not a good thing on plastic action figures. It makes it look cheap or something. Maybe this is what that is. I'm not sure, but it kind of throws me off. But, it's like I'm fine with it. I mean, it's still painted blue, so. But, yeah, maybe if they applied a little bit more paint, it wouldn't look this way, right? Maybe that's it. So, yeah. And for his legs, they're pretty standard legs. Pretty robot-like, right? And on the arms, you have these, I don't know what to call them. They're like shields. What's a good example? It kind of reminds me of the You know what Cap used in Infinity War during the Battle of Wakanda? He had like those shield gauntlet things where he can punch the alien monsters with, but at the same time also defend himself. That's basically what these are to me. They look like that. So I like this whole thing. It's pretty cool. I don't know if these are supposed to be lights or these are supposed to be like a gun where it fires like bullets out of. Not sure what those are, but the fact that they're not painted. So this goes to show that certain areas on this figure could have benefited from paint. And again, I love the new sculpting of this figure, but the lack of paint though in some of the areas, like they could have painted them. I'm just saying, like these right here are a good example, right? Maybe add some paint up here. As for the top parts of the missiles, there is a little detail paint going on here, right? So it's pretty cool. On the back side, you have this really strange thing with the back part where, you know, usually the missiles, I think these would be covered up, right? Like it would be a flat surface covering all this stuff up, but it's visible. So it's kind of strange. And this right here is painted, so you have lights going on here, like siren colors. And I think this backpack looking thing might be where the engine or like the battery for this mech suit is from. So that's where the power source is for the suit. So yeah. It's not too bad in terms of sculpt detail, but in terms of paint, I think it could probably benefit from a little bit more paint if they put in more of the paint into it, but they did not. So, you know, if you're a customizer, this guy is definitely one you can go back and do some work to. As for his articulation, this is where I'm going to bring this up. I don't know if it's just my copy. Maybe it's every copy. But for my copy, he has a lot of looseness in a lot of areas, which I'm not a fan of. Like, and it's not the good kind of loose. So for his arms, the looseness is fine, I think. But sometimes it kind of just drops, like as you can see, which is not fun. So if you're trying to do some cool pose, you know, you gotta make sure it stays up. So that's not good right there. They can move outward, they can move backward, they can spread up. There is double articulation on those arms, but my copy is still new, so I haven't freed those up. The butterfly joint works like crazy. It's really freaking loose, which is, I guess, maybe a good thing for some of you, but maybe a bad thing for some of you as well that you don't like. As for his arms, they do swivel. He does have swivel in his hands here as well, as you can see. As for his head, it can look down and it can look up, not exactly. So it does rotate, but it's very limited to like where it can move. As for his torso, it doesn't really move. It doesn't really rotate, but it can lean back. Surprisingly, pretty good. It can't lean forward. As for his waist, that does have movement down there, so that's not bad. And for his legs, this is where the thing I hate the most comes from. So this side of the leg, whenever I have him standing, he'll just like slide to the side like this. So that's definitely a QZ problem. This leg doesn't do it. And because his legs are so loose, these die swivel, not die cut, I was going to say die cuts. Die swivels actually move pretty cool. They're like so loose and free. As for his legs kicking out, you're not going to really get that because the skirt piece gets in the way, and then this part in here also gets in the way, so he's not going to kick his legs out too much going forward. Going to the sides, somewhat kind of do the splits, right, a little bit. He does have double jointed legs, so that's good. And he does have swivel down here where his feet are, so that's not bad. And he does have toe articulation. And again, these feet are also very loose, and I also knocked the camera a little bit. Yeah, they're really freaking loose. I don't know why it's like that. It might just be my copy. Maybe your copy doesn't have this sort of problem. But, you know, it's not fun to have these type of problems. But it is what it is. And with that, we have our look at this 2-pack. And, you know, even with these little nitpicks and problems I have, I still like this 2-pack for what it is. I like having new figures of characters I know nothing about, except for, I know who James Gordon is, but I don't know what this suit is. It does go good with my Batman stuff. And this guy could be in your Batman villain, shelf as well, because he is in Gotham City, right? So whatever you choose to do, however you want to display these figures in your shelf, I think this is a really cool 2-pack. But is it worth the full price? No. So if you want to get this 2-pack, it's still available right now at the Target stores. I think they still have it in stock. You could probably get it for lower. Maybe just wait a little bit longer. It will probably drop more, because I picked it up for around like $34. And for a while now, here in Southern California, this 2-pack was sitting at like $50 as a sale price for like 2 months, I think. And it finally dropped lower than that. So I think if you wait a little bit longer, maybe it might hit that nice $20 price point that I heard some people were able to get this for over in the East Coast 2 months ago. So I don't know, but just wait for a better sale and don't pick this up for full price. It's not worth $70. That's my opinion. And with that said, I hope you found today's review of Mr. Bloom and Rookie informative. If you like the way I do my reviews, give this video a like. If you want to subscribe to my channel to see more action figure content, you can. You don't have to. In the end of the day, I make these videos for fun. And with that said, take care, and I will see you in the next video.